Hey guys, and welcome back to CB Fire TV. Over the last couple of days, the Lord has really been speaking to me, and one of the scriptures that He gave to me was 1 Samuel 13. Now, when you read 1 Samuel 13, it's about King Saul. If you know King Saul, some of us know King Saul because he tried to kill David and all of that. But when you read 1 Samuel 13, Saul and Jonathan, his son, were together and then they departed. So Jonathan went to a place called Geba and killed the Philistines who were stationed in Geba. But Saul went to Gilgal. And what happened was, after Jonathan had killed the Philistines in Geba, the whole army of the Philistines then found out and were on alert, and they came together and they went to where Saul was in Gilgal, but they encamped around Saul. So when they encamped around Saul, it was only a scare tactic. They didn't do anything, they were just stationed there. And what happened was the Israelites saw that the Philistines were there in their place. They could see them and they became fearful, and because they became fearful, they began to doubt. Now, why did they begin to doubt? Because they were scared, and they began to doubt Saul because Saul wasn't acting, Saul wasn't doing anything. But because God had chosen Saul to be king over Israel, the Israelites were actually doubting God. And then when you read a little bit more, you then begin to understand that then there was gossip. Through the doubt, gossip came, and gossip got back to Saul. And Saul then felt the pressure of the people because they were fearful and things were happening and they were scattering away from him, and he didn't understand and he became pressured. But the instruction the Lord gave him was to wait 7 days. Saul was to wait 7 days because the man of God Samuel, the prophet Samuel, was going to come and make a sacrifice unto God. And if you then talk to God about, if you read it and talk to God, you then realize that there would have been a plan and something would have happened. And God was always with Israel. He never left Israel high and dry. But what happened was, because Saul felt the pressure, he felt the pressure, but then as his perception of the situation is that Samuel's taken too long. God is taking too long. Nah, God, where you at? You're taking too long, bro. And so in some versions it says that Saul tarried for 7 days, but 7 days was the instructed time that Saul should have waited. So we get to the 7th day and not even to the end of the 7th day. And because Saul thinks that Saul's perception is Samuel's taking too long, God is taking too long, Saul then steps out of his office as king and tries to go into an office that God hasn't commissioned him to, which was a priest. Because back in the Old Testament, in the Bible, it was the king and the priest was the person that could make the sacrifice, or whoever God had commissioned. So it was the priest. And so in this time, in this story, in this parable, Samuel was commissioned to make the sacrifice unto God. So Saul stepped out of his role as king, his office as king, stepped into an office that he was not commissioned to, and he made a sacrifice. Now, what he did is he moved out of God's timing and God's word and stepped into his own timing and his own word, and he did something that was illegal, and that's something that God cannot actually accept. The reason why he cannot accept it is because when we step out of his timing and we step into our own timing and we do our own thing and then try to worship God, God cannot accept it because we're in a place of disobedience. So every time we try and do things unto God through a place of disobedience, God cannot accept it because we've moved out of what he wants and what he's doing and what he says, and we've gone into our own thing because we want to, and because God is taking too long, and we actually give something up to God which God cannot accept. And then when things don't happen, we then begin to curse God. But let's get back to the story. What we then realize is, or what you then begin to realize once you study it, is that in the 7 days that he's waiting, that Saul's faith, his faith, his trust, and his patience and his pride were all being tested by God. And clearly, he failed the test and went into disobedience, like I said before, and he offered up something that God could not accept. So as soon as he offered up the sacrifice, Samuel then appeared. The man of God appeared. God appeared. He appeared and Saul went out to greet him. But Samuel said, "What have you done? Bro, what have you done? Do you even know what you've done?" And what Saul does is Saul says to Samuel, "Yeah, but you was taking too long." His perception was that Samuel was taking too long. And he says to him, "But you was taking too long. Where was you?" And the people started to go away from me. The people started to scatter away from me. And what Samuel actually says, and what the Lord says through Samuel to Saul, is that I'm finding another person. I'm finding someone who's after my own heart. A man that's after my own heart. And what Saul actually did without actually knowing is that he set his own destiny. And his own destiny was to be killed. He set the destiny of his son. He actually sentenced his son to death. Why? Because he moved out of God's timing and into his own timing. So he went from, because God's destiny wasn't for Saul to die, it was for Saul's kingdom to reign forever through the generations. But what's happened is, because he moved out of God's timing and went into his own timing, Saul actually set his own destiny. Because in the Bible it actually says, if you read the scripture, it actually says that the kingdom was then stripped from Saul. Which means that he actually sentenced Jonathan, his son, to death. Because Jonathan wouldn't inherit the kingdom. And all the generations after that. So he sentenced his son to death. Why am I saying this to you? I'm saying this to you because the Lord was talking to me about timing. And he was saying that a lot of us are in a tight situation like the Israelites. We are surrounded. We can see the enemy. We can see things happening around us, but they are just stationed there. And we feel tight. We feel uncomfortable. But the Lord has actually instructed you. The instruction the Lord has given is for you to wait, to go back to him and to ask him what you should do. And what's happening is, before I even came on here, the Lord was showing me, and he showed me someone, or there are people that are going to see this, and he showed me the situation where they are in a very tight situation. It's like they're in a box. They're in a box and they're trying to get out, but the Lord is saying, just be still. I want you to wait for me. What are you going to do? Because some of us are feeling so tight, but the Lord is testing your faith in him. He's testing your trust in him. He's testing your patience in him. He's testing your pride. He's testing your ego. He's testing what is on the inside of you when things look like they're bad. Because it's our perception. It was Saul's perception. It was the Israelites' perception of the situation which caused them to act. Which caused Saul to act out of God's timing. And to move into a place of disobedience. And because of his disobedience, his kingdom was actually stripped from him. And one of the things the Lord is actually telling me now is that if you move out of disobedience and do what you feel like you want to do, or you feel like is right to do, then you're sentencing someone to death. You are sentencing someone. You are leaving someone. You are stripping. Something's going to be stripped from you, but stripped from other people too. Because in you being still in your situation and waiting for God, someone is watching you. Someone is looking at, what are you doing? Are you waiting for God, or are you doing your own thing? Because through you, the Lord is going to touch many people. But if you move out of disobedience, then you're stripping whatever God has for them away from them. Because you're moving in disobedience. And I know it's hard, and I know it's not easy, but the Lord is saying, what are you going to do? Are you going to be like Saul and let the voices of the people get to you? Are you going to let the opinions of the people get to you? Are you going to let your perception get in the way of what I have told you already? There are some people, he's even telling me now that there are some people that the Lord has told them, has given them an instruction. And now you're on the brink, you're on the edge, and you're saying, God, I can't do this anymore. But the Lord is about to show up. Some of us have actually moved in a place of disobedience, and something's happened straight away. and you don't understand why things are happening the way they're happening, is because you moved out of disobedience, you moved out of God's will and God's purpose for you, and you've set your own destiny because you weren't willing to wait for God. You weren't willing to act on his word. You weren't willing to tarry. You weren't willing to spend time with God to find out what his heart is. The Lord is saying, are you going to move out of time? Are you going to move into what you want to do? So this video is about time. In this new season, time is going to be very important. It's about timing. And for some of us, you've been waiting for a long time, and the Lord is causing you to wait because he wants to see what's really on the inside of you. I want to see if you really love me, because a lot of people say that they love me, but they do their own thing and still proclaim that they love me, but you can't, because I've given you an instruction. I'm causing you to wait. Wait for me. 7, perfection, blessing, completion. In this new season, it's timing. Are you in the right timing? And if you're not, you need to go back to God and ask God what you need to be doing in this time. So I hope this video has blessed you. I hope this video has spoken to someone's situation. Whoever sees this, I pray the Lord does something for you, because the Lord is about to show up for some of us. For a lot of us, the Lord is about to show up. He's about to show himself. He wants to see what's on the inside of you. He wants to see what you're about. He wants to see if you really love him. He wants to see if you really have faith and trust on the inside of him. So thank you for watching this video, and we'll see you next week with another video. But I pray the Lord does something. The Lord shows up for you. I pray that you are strong in your waiting. That you don't become tired, that you don't become weary, that you don't become agitated, but you will wait. But you will go back to God and take everything you feel back to God and watch God work in your life. Thank you, and see you guys later.